Ligonier is a small town in the mountains of central Pennsylvania. With a pretty countryside and a vibrant downtown, Ligonier draws tourists and enthusiasts who celebrate the area's rich history. Ligonier's military heritage extends back to the French and Indian War, when British and colonial forces were garrisoned here. In addition to historical markers, the townspeople built a museum to house documents and artifacts from the fort. Inside the museum lobby, there is a detailed model of the old fortress, which offers visitors an excellent way to visualize how Fort Ligonier looked back in 1758. The model fort is impressive, but the townspeople wanted more, so they built a full-size, historically accurate replica of the fortress on the original site. The museum staff tends to the fortifications and administers several history and education programs. Fort Ligonier enjoys hosting visitors and sharing history throughout the year. The executive director at Fort Ligonier is Mary Mangus.
My name is Mary Mangus. I'm the executive director of Fort Ligonier. Our history here began in 1758. We were part of the Forbes campaign during the French-Indian War. We were open as a fort until 1766. Our association history really begins later on. In 1895, the first newspaper article mentioning the reconstruction of the fort appears. By 1913, the William Kenley chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution had purchased the plot of land here. And there's a push to begin the restoration and reconstruction of the fort. By 1934, the DAR has put a memorial out front, and from that point on, the association is formed, fundraising begins, and the reconstruction of the fort starts in 1954. Fort Ligonier is a private nonprofit. We don't receive really any state or federal support. Our financials are made up of our admissions, grants, foundation support, store sales, and a lot of programming that we do. Typically we see, pre-pandemic, we were seeing about 7,000 school students annually for field trip experiences, as well as many adult programs and different learning opportunities throughout the year. Archaeology is something that happens every year. We've been working with Dr. Burns for probably 8 years now, which started as a field school for his students and has grown into this amazing partnership with veterans. Several years ago, he came to us and told us about the therapeutic benefits for veterans to be doing archaeology, and we see the benefit too because they bring a military mindset to a military archaeological dig, and so their expertise is wonderful. My son is currently serving in the U.S. Army. He's on a combat deployment, so I hope that someday when he comes back, maybe he'll have the opportunity to participate in something like this. So we're thrilled to have the veterans here every year.
I'm Matt Galt, the Director of Education, and here at Fort Ligonier, our educational programs are built for all ages. One of the programs I have had the pleasure of being a part of was when Dr. Burns brought through originally students, but then evolved this program into bringing veterans that were going to be working in the fort and also on this project that we're working on right now. Before I became Director of Education, I actually had the privilege of meeting Jonathan Burns, and as he was doing some of the archaeology here at the fort, looking for another battery that was here at this fortification. And really, from that experience and getting to know Dr. Burns, I realized that this is our guy. If there's anyone who's going to find this, I believe it's going to be him.
The father of the Veterans Archaeology program at Fort Ligonier is a dedicated, and some would say animated, professor of archaeology at Juniata College, Dr. Jonathan Burns.
This is our 5th year of working with veterans here at Ligonier, and each year it's been getting a little bit more and more organized, and last year's efforts actually opened up a new site area for interpretation. We're hoping to do that again this year with the Friendly Fire site. Veterans come in with an interest, maybe no experience whatsoever, and we will give them some lecture material and very much hands-on, here's how you use metal detectors, Here's what we're doing and how we're collecting the data, squaring them away on that technology and the mission. Then we move out to the site and start getting our hands dirty. We'll probably have at least 3 laned areas for each of the 3 metal detector teams to start learning the pings and the beeps and the sounds, and to understand and learn from Dave and Jeremy and Chris, who are going to be also there as instructors and running their machines. This year we have 11 veterans participating, a good mix of ages and interest levels, and we're excited about letting them find some of these goodies.
A key instructor is the distinguished battlefield archaeologist and metal detector expert, Chris Espenshade.
This is Chris Espenshade. I'm a battlefield archaeologist. I volunteer fairly regularly to work with veterans doing battlefield archaeology. I also teach archaeologists how to use a metal detector. So we have a class, a continuing education class. So I'll be helping teach the veterans when they get here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, how to best use a detector. Typically you lay out lanes that are about 1.5 meters wide. That's comfortable swinging with a detector without making it too, if you make it much wider than that, they start lifting up the detectors at the end of the swing, and that's inefficient. And they just start at one end and work towards the other. Typically, people who haven't detected before, we have to tell them to slow down, make sure they're covering the whole lane and not doing like a zigzag up the lane with a lot of missed spaces in between. And then we flag and GPS plot and also total station map everything that's found out there. Everything is period, any historic artifacts, and then be collected. I think we're on it.
All right. Hi, I'm Angela Gillette-Wetling. I am the Cultural Resources Program Coordinator at Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. I started helping out a couple years ago with Dr. Jonathan Burns and Scott Schaefer here at the fort, and now here at the Friendly Fire Incident. I actually had joined the military in 2003 as a military transport operator, hauling fuel and other valuable products across Iraq's northern tier. One of my roles here is to help with the geographic information systems. So we call it GIS. What it is essentially a mapping system for the fort and all the information that's collected as part of these projects. Another application that we've used the GIS here for is terrain analysis. It's a common concept for military veterans, a little less so to the average public, but what we do is we essentially use the geographic information systems data sets, so things like LiDAR, light detection and ranging, topographic maps, even aerial maps from different years with different colors or views of vegetation. And we use that to then model the landscape and to look at areas where there may have been more likelihood of human interaction or military engagements.
Before the main group of veteran participants arrive, Dr. Burns' cadre of professionals, returning veterans, and student volunteers must prepare the site.
So we're going to bushwhack our way to the corner and see if we can figure out where the property line extends and how that juxtaposes with the Forbes Road approach. We're going to lane out for the veterans when they come in. We can get about a 20 meter by 20 meter square there, and then we need a nice clean area that we can actually put lanes on, and the detectors can swing right at the surface of the ground.
The student assistants and returning veterans want to locate the best tranches of artifacts for the main group of veterans to investigate later in the week. Army veteran and experienced metal detector operator Jeremy Severn finds what the team is looking for.
Just pop this plug out here, right in the middle of it. Nice drop. Looks to be, it's a little bit smaller caliber for the time period, 50 caliber or so, musket ball. So definitely something we're looking for out here.
Dr. Burns assesses that the investigation into the friendly fire incident site is going well.
We're in the afternoon of day 3. Turned up some excellent finds today. Forbes Road evidence coming up across 2 Mile Run in the form of horseshoes that look period. A couple brass or copper, shaped copper pieces that seem to be some sort of, if not gun furniture, possibly chests or lock boxes. But that's the kind of stuff we would expect to see along the Forbes Road that would just be general background noise, given how many troops traverse that ravine. You're going to get strake nails, wagon parts, horseshoes, and that's exactly what we wanted to find. The team in the woods also found a lead ball, so a smaller caliber lead ball. That's something we want to look into as well. But everything's being plotted with the GPS, so we'll be able to start to see some patterns emerging, not only here in the field, but across the stream in the ravine. Up here we had excellent luck with Jeremy walking this contour just below the yard here and turned up several lead balls, more 50 cal lead balls, and a beautiful watch key that seems to be, well, it is French because it's got a fleur-de-lis and a lion on it. So we already did some internet searches and found a pretty good evidence that that is indeed what we have.
Additional artifacts may tell us more about the friendly fire incident, but to appreciate everything in context, one has to understand the old Forbes Road. The road ran southwest from Fort Ligonier for many miles. Approximately 2 miles from the fort, the road crossed a creek known as 2 Mile Run. The intersection of the Forbes Road and 2 Mile Run is the area where the friendly fire incident likely occurred in 1758. This is Dr. Burns' area of interest. While stationed at Fort Ligonier, a young Colonel, George Washington, frequently used the Forbes Road. He understood both the advantages and the perils of traveling upon it. Washington's commanding officer, General John Forbes, ordered his men to carve the road out of the wilderness. It was no easy task for the British and colonial soldiers, but eventually they succeeded.
I stand upon this advanced position along the road that my lads have done. A great job to clear the terrain, but I am always watchful for our enemy, as they could always be nearby.
On November 12, 1758, Washington's fellow Virginian, Colonel George Mercer, led his regiment along the Forbes Road when they encountered French and Native American forces. In the hours that followed, Washington led his own regiment to assist Mercer. The ensuing confusion was something that Washington could never truly walk away from. The majority of the veterans arrived at the museum on Thursday, August 11th, to conduct their training and work on the project through the weekend. The veterans enjoyed a museum tour.
Then you're going to have Colonel Washington, right? This is not the general we are so familiar with. This is not the first president that we are so familiar with. This is the young man who's still trying to figure it out.
The Veterans Archaeology t-shirts looked good in the class photo. Dr. Burns discussed the French and Indian War. He detailed the British effort to seize Fort Duquesne near modern-day Pittsburgh. Dr. Burns' cadre of experts provided additional instruction.
The key thing here, this is a coil, we call it the coil.
Archaeologist Scott Schaefer explains how the friendly fire incident happened.
On that overcast day in November, there were 3 groups of soldiers in this pasture here. We know that the French came from the west. They're coming from Fort Duquesne, and they brought Indian allies. A total of about 200 men came down the Forbes Road from the west. They came down, we think they stopped on this landform here.
After the French came into the area from the west, they set up camp.
Colonel Mercer of the Virginia Regiment brought 500 Virginia soldiers from Fort Ligonier in that direction.
Mercer's regiment was headed straight toward the French position. As Mercer's men moved quickly through the woods, they surprised the French and Native Americans.
He sees the French soldiers and they engage in a brisk firefight. I'm not sure how long it lasted, several minutes, maybe as much as an hour and a half or so.
Rather than risk defeat, the French retreated back along what is now Dickey Road. Concerned that the French might counterattack, Mercer consolidated his position and remained on high alert.
Back at the fort, which is 2 miles away over the hill, they heard the exchange of musket fire. General Forbes decided that Mercer may be in trouble and being pushed back by the French. So he sends George Washington out with 500 additional Virginia Regiment soldiers. Washington goes down the Loyalhanna, comes up 2 mile run, and enters the field of battle from the north.
Washington was headed into the clearing with Mercer. Mercer and his men were hunkered down.
They're still scared that the French are out there somewhere in the hills. They don't know if perhaps the French are going to come around and attack them from the rear. So they look down in the fog. It was early evening. It's late in the year. The sun has gone down. And they see movement in the trees. And unknowingly, they start to shoot. The guys that down at the bottom, Washington's men, start shooting back. And that's where we have the friendly fire incident.
Captain Thomas Bullitt survived the friendly fire incident. He succinctly described what happened to his fellow Virginians. Instead of engaging the French in battle, they met themselves. In the evening hours after the incident, George Washington reflected upon the tragedy.
It is with a heavy heart that I make this entry into my orderly book. After orders, 1 colonel, 1 lieutenant colonel, 1 major, 5 captains, 15 subalterns, 20 sergeants, 20 corporals, and 400 private men to march tomorrow morning at reveille, beating to the ground where the skirmish was this evening, and to carry a proportion of spades in order to enter the dead bodies.
Despite Washington's setback at the friendly fire incident, the British pressed on to Fort Duquesne. Quartermaster General Sir John Sinclair brought British logistical might to bear upon the campaign.
My name is Sir John St. Clair. I'm the Deputy Quartermaster General for General Forbes' campaign against the French fort at the forks of the Ohio at Duquesne. My job is to supply the troops. Do you think that's an easy one? It isn't. I have to come up with 1 pound of flour per day per soldier. 6,000 soldiers, another 1,000 to 1,500 auxiliaries. That means I have to come up with 25 tons of flour every week. Where would you come up with 25 tons of flour every week? And that's just the flour. That does include the beef and the pork, the peas, the butter, the cheese, the rum, the rice, the oats. All of that has to be supplied. But His Majesty wants us to take this forth. The French know that we're this well provisioned. Of course, England is the biggest shipper of leather and of woolen goods in the world. But how do you get those across the ocean, and how do you get them here? 300 miles along a road that we've had to cut through the wilderness with axes and shovels. Every 50 miles, General Forbes has ordered there to be a wave station built, a fortified place to keep our supplies and our provisions. And, of course, artillery. We had to bring artillery along those roads. How do those artillery come? Drawn by horses and by oxen. You know, those horses and oxen have to eat it as well. So all along the way, it's going to be provisions, it's going to be pasture, it's going to be supplies, it's going to be tools, it's going to be uniforms. It's going to be everything that needs for this campaign to succeed, and that rests upon my shoulders. So it's not an easy job.
Like the military, Dr. Burns approaches his work with rigor and good discipline.
All right, whose is this? This is my metal detector. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Choose some folks to work with here. We'll show you some of the intricacies of these particular machines and a few techniques. Then maybe Chris will have something to add as we take you over to one of these laned areas where we have some string so that we can learn how to swing the thing properly and not miss any ground, right? That's the name of the game, is complete coverage, especially if we're doing in this nice manicured yard with these lanes. We want to really clear this area.
Scott explains how stratigraphy identifies the best locations to search for artifacts.
And I will start this out by saying I am not a soil scientist, but I've doing this in Pennsylvania, been doing this in Pennsylvania for 22 years. I got a good handle on most of the soils, and this isn't a very difficult soil sequence up here. I've already done this, but we'll do it again. We're just pushing it down. I'm seeing how deep it goes until we get into an older soil. We have an A, then a BT is what you should have. When you get down into the field, it's an AP, it's a pile zone soil. But up here, if I can get down deep enough, so I'm as deep as I'm gonna go. If you listen, you might be able to hear it hitting the rock underneath here. So I'm looking at just the soil stratigraphy here. So what this shows me is from here down, that's about 10, 20, 25, maybe 30 centimeters. We do have that A, that the soil conservation service tells me should be up here. It is an intact soil. It doesn't look too messed up. If I push this up a little bit, you can see it starts to change color a little bit. You're getting that lighter subsoil, right? And up here, it is a BT soil. It's got a lot of clay in it. Where will we find the artifacts? We'll find the artifacts in this upper spot, and we could get the artifacts down into that BT a little bit. You don't have to go much further, because I think I'm on it, before you hit the bedrock bench.
Artifacts at the skirmish site connect modern veterans with their predecessors. Brothers and sisters in arms instinctively want to find their comrades and bring them home.
Push-ups not. Those days are long gone.
Well,
The group covered a lot of ground with their metal detectors. They did a fair amount of digging, too.
Hey, I'm Nathan Shores. I work with the VCP Veterans Curation Program in Augusta, Georgia. That's how I learned about this program. This is my first year out here, and excited to learn some battlefield conflict archaeology and the methods, techniques, how to use the metal detectors. And I'm enjoying myself so far. All right, so a piece of a nail.
All right, we got a button here. It's pretty fragile, so we don't want to mess around with it in the bag, so we're gonna leave it right here.
Dr. Burns decides to dig a shovel test pit.
So now that we have this shovel test location mapped and strung out basically on our grid so we can find it again, we're gonna have Thomas gently cut his way around the sod, remove it, and dig what's called a shovel test pit. These are dug at 50 by 50 centimeters, and then however deep you need to go to reveal the soil profile. That helps us understand the age of the landform, stability of the landform, and possibly anything else that might be in this yard that could be an anomaly with respect to the soil profile. So this will give us a window into the soil that we don't get when we're digging our little metal detector find holes. And this is sort of intermediary between digging large test units, which take a lot of time and investment. This is the perfect way to get a glimpse of the soils.
On November 12th, 1758, the soldiers relied upon their muskets, not artillery. British troops inside Fort Ligonier allegedly heard the gunfire from Colonel Mercer's men skirmishing with the French. But is this account true? Is it really possible to hear a musket 2 miles away in the Pennsylvania mountains? In the spirit of experimental archaeology, The team fired a musket at the friendly fire site while people at Fort Ligonier listened intently to hear the shots.
And fire.
Matt fired the rifles. We did not hear the gunshots here at Fort Ligonier. This does not mean that our experimental archaeology was a failure. Several things are different. We have a little bit of traffic. The leaves on the trees may play a big part in why we didn't hear the noise. If we come back in November, right around the 12th, the day the battle happened, there will be less leaves on the trees, and perhaps if he shoots the guns again, we will hear them that time.
Dr. Burns and Scott must reference their map to verify that their artifacts were dug up in the area where they believe the friendly fire incident occurred.
Holy smokes. What is this? Schaefer, what is this?
A donut, Dr. Burns.
Are you allowed to have donuts in your research box?
Okay, here on the last day, we want to discuss how we've corroborated the historic accounts. We've spent time pulling more and more artifacts out, and we're beginning to see some patterns emerge on the landscape. What we suspected happened here was that the French came down the Forbes Road, which we're pretty established that we're on the Forbes Road here, came down Forbes Road and occupied this point, possibly had their fire that was talked about in the written record. Things that would corroborate the French being here as far as material culture. The dead ringer is the French watch key.
With the fleur-de-lis pattern on it.
With the fleur-de-lis pattern. Some French caliber musket balls.
You have 65 caliber French musket ball, and this one has actually been shot and has an impact mark on it.
For French occupation, behind us on the hill, we have this scabbard clip that could have also indicated, you know, that higher ground or that directional occupation of the landform here, and a few buttons to point out. The last thing that we found yesterday was the pile of coins, right? These coins could, once we clean them up, I think they're European. For the French here, I think so. We have material evidence to corroborate that. As far as Mercer arriving on scene, we know that he would have been coming from the east, down the Forbes Road, and that's when the gunfire ensued that was heard back at the fort. So down in that area, in addition to the collector's notes who said he found a lot of lead balls, we've found lead balls and buttons of various calibers, and some shot, some dropped. Right, so that's a very good indication that this could very well be that high point that was then taken by Mercer when the French and their native allies realized they were outgunned. Now we've also found Brown Bess gun parts across the landform, or on the other adjacent landform past this little drainage. We've got this ramrod guide from a Brown Bess, and a few of those other gun parts could very well be long rifles.
These little thumb plates, different styles, they're not French military, they're not British military. They're probably coming off of some of the rifles that are out here.
That's a pretty good representation there. Oh, additionally, a portion of a shoe buckle was found on the landform. That's all good indicators of potentially of Mercer's men. Final on the scene would be Washington approaching from the north, coming up 2 Mile Run. And that's probably what we have the least amount of hard evidence for as far as firing lines, but once we start plotting the patterns and conditions and calibers of the lead, we'll have a much better idea of whether we're seeing the exchange between the initial exchange between Mercer and the French and or the friendly fire incident.
We're hoping to see angles of shot musket balls and lines of dropped musket balls. One of our research questions is how far into this little meadow did Washington and his Virginians, how far did they get? How far did they make it towards the Forbes Road before they mistakenly shot each other? And we should be able to see that once we start plotting the musket balls across the landscape and playing with those, turning the French musket balls off and the British musket balls on, looking at the shot musket ball patterns. Things will come together, and that's what's really going to tell us what happened out here.
A distinguished visitor stopped by to review the team's findings.
Well, I'm Charlie Fagan, and I've been deeply involved in things at Fort Ligonier for many years. I was chair of the board here for a long time. I'm still a member of the board of trustees.
I'm going to show you some stuff that's probably even better than the musket balls. This is the first one, and a little bit of weight to that one. That one is cast brass, would have been sand cast. So you can imagine running through the woods and maybe dropping your gun. They're gonna fall off. And another interesting one, if you look real close with the eye lens and you're looking in the right light, you can see some marks on the top of this. So somebody was probably changing their flint. We also found this. I'm not going to take this one out of the bag because it's very delicate, but you'll be able to see it. Do you have any idea of what that is?
Yeah, it's a key for
That's a watch key, yes.
watch key, yeah.
And if you look really close,
Oh, yeah.
that's a fleur-de-lis. Can you imagine a French officer running around in the woods out here? I can just see it breaking loose, and he probably went to wind his watch and it was missing.
Wow. So you're finding the site. There's no question about that.
Somewhere out here on this landscape, we know there are 40 dead Virginia Regiment soldiers, dead and wounded. Have you ever come across?
Oh, yes.
Where are you finding that, and what do they say?
In Washington's own report on that, but that's where the bad news was. There's supposed to have been about 25 dead. Now, that's a lot of guys in one time.
Now, are those the ones that they left on the field for the night and Washington came out the next day to bury?
Correct.
So there's probably a mass grave. You think they're burying him in a mass grave, or you think they're burying him in individual graves?
No. I think they were burying them in a mass grave, and I think the mass grave is right behind you, right underneath that barn. The barn was put on the Forbes Road.
Okay. Maybe we should take our metal detectors inside the barn.
Oh, yes.
We'd find lots of nails, I think.
My mind's talks is that's where they are, under that barn.
Finding the burials was not a research question. It wasn't a goal for this year, but we're digging a lot of holes out here. So we were ready, but we didn't dig in the barn.
No.
Not yet. And I don't know if we will. You know, I would like to confirm the location, just because those dead soldiers deserve it.
Correct.
Would we ever dig them up and take them back to a museum and do analysis and find out where they were shot? I don't think we need to do that. But I wouldn't mind locating them and putting a monument up.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I think you're making history. I really do.
Matt came out and visited us on site. George Washington showed up too on site.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a fun project.
And for that, we want to thank all of you, because you've done a great job. Where did all this really happen? Where can I go and see what happened and where it happened? You fellows have found that.
All right, Charlie, this just came out of the ground just for you while you were here. 5 copper coins.
Oh my.
All on top of one another. Usually we just find them one at a time, but Ranger Dave is trying to outdo himself today.
Fantastic.
Isn't it?
Congratulations.
It was a fast and furious week of collecting, but it paid off.
Each veteran completing the program receives a certificate credentialing him or her for future archaeological work. The team at Fort Ligonier looks forward to the veterans' return next year.
Hey, my name is Jeremy Severin. This is my second year working on the Fort Ligonier projects with Dr. Burns.
Yeah, this weekend was just amazing. I've loved everybody I've met. We've had such a great time. And personally, like, every find we've had has been a good find, no matter what it was. And I would love to come back next year.
It's been a really good experience. It's been really surprising seeing what we can pull out of the ground with the metal detectors. A lot of cool stuff. Really grateful for the opportunity to come out here and do this, and hope I can do it again sometime.